Hey guys, it's Nicole and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to give you guys a 1-year update on some seedlings that I got about a year ago. So last May, I got some seedlings from Teresa Ruiz. I will link her YouTube channel down below, and Michael McCarthy. So I got a combination of little divisions, little keikis, and a larger plant as well. And I want to show you how these are all doing. So I always think it's kind of nice to see some continuity on how seedlings have done, the good, the bad, some of the challenges. So if you guys have been with me for a while, you haven't seen these orchids in a while, so I'm going to give you an update. And if you're new to my channel, I will link the videos down below of the original unboxing, as well as when I repotted these orchids if you're interested. So I'm going to put a side-by-side view of how they're doing now and when I first got them. And I will show you the blooms. And I'm happy to report that some of these have already bloomed for me, which is really nice. If you guys like this kind of video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more orchid content. Let's jump right in with the first orchid. So this one is the Brasso Lelio Catlio Robert's Choice D. It's doing really well. I have it in a small clay pot with some sphagnum moss. When I first got it, it was the tiniest seedling ever. It was in a little shot cup. It's growing really well. As you can see, it has a new growth coming in, and the older growths are doing just fine. I'd say that this orchid is about 3 years from blooming. These tend to take a while, but it's producing good roots. I water it abundantly every 2 to 3 days, so it gets a nice soak, but I do let it dry. It does dry fast because it is in that clay pot, but overall this one's doing well, and I can't wait to see it grow up. The next orchid is the Epicatlia Rene Marquez. So I kind of cheated here because I had 2 of them and I put 2 seedlings into 1 cup. What I'll say is that it was just like one little growth, but both of my seedlings have pushed out 2 new growths. I moved it into semi-hydro and they're doing well, nice root growth. I can't wait to see them. One of them is the flamethrower and the other one is the Tyler version. So I look forward to seeing them. We'll see if there's any difference in variation. Next is my one fatality. So the Dendrobium Jade Fantasy died on me. It was just a little division here. It got attacked by spider mites, and rest in peace, little one. This one did not make it. For a happier story, this one's the Dendrobium New Hope Mini. This one grew really, really well. So if you see how it looked before, it was a tiny little dendrobium. I moved it into a little clay pot with moss, and this one's growing nicely. I treated it just like the Catlio, so it's growing well. Next, I'm really, really happy with this one. This one's the Dendrobium Kingianum. Well, it was labeled this way, but someone told me it's possibly the Dendrobium delicatum. This one actually bloomed for me, and it had just a couple of canes when I first got it a year ago, and now it's got like 10 canes. So this orchid is doing exceptionally well. It's growing really happily in moss in a small pot. I actually just used the same pot when I repotted it. And unfortunately, if you can see on the left, the leaves are a little bit scarred, and that's because it was really heavily infested with thrips when I had a thrips infestation over the winter. So that was unfortunate, but I was able to eradicate it. So this orchid is doing well now. As you can see, it has a new growth coming in, and I find that this orchid is very vigorous. I'm not an expert on Australian dendrobiums, but I really like that this has a very tight growth pattern. It's about 5-6 inches tall, maybe 7 inches max. So it's really earned its keep in my collection. When it bloomed, the blooms were fragrant, so I really like it. I will update the label at some point, but this is a keeper. Alrighty, the next one, I am amazed by the way that this one has grown. This one's the Dendrobium Second Love. This is a Dendrobium Nobly type orchid, and I will put the footage up right now of what it looked like. So as you can see, it has like 5 canes now, and it originally started as a 1 cane division. It's been a year, and check out that growth. So this orchid, I did not give it any dry rest. I did not give it any break or anything, just because it's a keiki, it's so small. So I kept fertilizing it as it was growing actively. And I think maybe this winter is the first time I will give it some rest. Otherwise, it's in coconut husk with a tiny bit of moss, and it's really enjoying the setup. I'm very excited to grow it, and maybe next year I'll get some blooms on it, but I think it's big enough where I'll be able to give it a rest period after this grow season in the fall and winter, so we'll see how it goes. I'm really excited for this one. This one is the SLC Chili Sauce, and this was a division that Teresa gave me. She got this from Sunset Valley Orchids, and I thought it was so adorable. So she gave me like a 3 or 4 bulb division. Initially, the first growth was a little weak and it kind of stalled out, but then it grew a second new growth, which you can see now has a bud. So this one's pushing nice roots. It's in coconut husk, just like some of the other divisions, and I'm very happy with it. I can't wait to see that bud bloom, and I was not expecting it to bloom in a year, but this division is establishing really, really well. Next, we have the Zygopetalum Luisendorf. So this one has been challenging for me. It had some new growths that came in and died, and then the newest growth also lost all of its leaves. It's got another growth that's coming in, but now that the temperatures are getting a little warmer, I'm not sure how this is going to do. I try to keep it as moist as possible. These are more like intermediate type temperature loving orchids, so I don't know that I have the right conditions for it at the moment, but I'm going to try to keep it as cool as possible. It's a really pretty one. I'm going to keep trying. I haven't bloomed the Zygopetalum yet, but I'm going to do my best to keep it a little cooler and happy. So we'll see how it goes. It's fighting, but we'll see how it goes in a few weeks to a few months. All right, moving on to Michael McCarthy's orchids. The last few were Teresa Ruiz's orchids. This one's a Fragmapedium olafgrass. Michael, I'm so sorry it looks like this. So I got this in really good shape. It had 2 fans and 2 or 3 fans, one of which was growing above everything else. When I repotted the orchid, I separated the fans, and unfortunately, I lost one of the fans. Now, the good news is that one of those fans that I separated that died off is starting to grow a new fan, so that's good. The other fan looks like it's growing just fine. The new leaves are growing in well. I'm not noticing any dieback with the exception of leaves on the very bottom, which I think is common. You do lose older leaves, kind of like Phalaenopsis types with these kinds of orchids as well. It's in coconut husk. I'm keeping it nice and moist, but I feel so bad it looks this way, but I'm going to keep pushing and make sure that it's nice and moist and that it can recover. I do think it's a good sign that that fan that died off is pushing a new fan, but I definitely set this orchid back. If I could do it again, I probably would not have separated the fans. I think that's what caused this to look this way. So my bad, Michael. I'm going to do my best with this orchid, and hopefully in another year or 2, I'll be able to bring it back to health. But I'll keep you guys updated on how it does. I'm really, really going to do my best. I feel so bad about this one. But let's move on to some better orchids. So this one is doing much better than the Fragmapedium. This one's a Dendrobium Jonathan's Glory Dark Joy. This one was a keiki from Michael, and I'm always surprised when I get a keiki from someone from Florida and it has blooms on it, because for me, keikis are tiny, and this one arrived in really, really good shape. It's pushed out like 3 different growths on it ever since I repotted it. I put it into semi-hydro. It's bloomed for me twice, so it bloomed immediately after receiving it because it had buds, and then it bloomed again. I actually may have bloomed this a 3rd time, but it's really fragrant. It's nice, tight growth pattern, very small. So just like the other Australian Dendrobium, this one's a keeper. I love it. This next one is a nice compact dendrobium. It's the Dendrobium Pink Sparkle, and it's grown really, really nicely in my care. I love that it's nice and small. When you look at how it looked before, it had like 3 growths. It was attached to a cane, and I potted it up into semi-hydro, and it really took off. And it really took off because it had that new growth coming in, so it pushed out nice new roots, and then it proceeded to push out a couple of additional growths. This bloomed for me twice as well, and I really love that it's a small dendrobium type. I have a couple of dendrobiums that are humongous, so I love that this one is nice and small. Some of the older leaves do shed, so that's completely normal, but I have it in a 10-ounce cup with rocks on top, so the setup is quite compact, and I'm very happy with this one. I love this orchid, Michael. The last update that I'll provide for you guys are the crosses that I received from some seedlings that were, I believe they were Laelia crosses. So this is one of them. So this one I received, and it got like, some of the new growths had like a little bit of a fungal infection, so I had to cut off some of the leaves. But we have some new growths coming in nice and healthy. So I think this orchid needed to adapt to semi-hydro a little bit. The new growths were a little stalled, but the initial growths were stalled rather, but now it's got some new growths coming in adapted to the semi-hydro self-watering system. And this is a cross with an epidendrum parent, and now this other one is a cross with the Guarianth aurantiaca. I need to learn how to say that, but this one's doing really, really well. So the first growth stalled. One of the growths lost its leaves, and I kind of had that similar issue where I had a little bit of a fungal infection on the leaves. I cut it off, I treated it with Physan 20, and it's pushed out a new growth with no issues whatsoever. And each new growth I suspect is going to be taller than the next few growths. You can see a big difference in the size from when I first received it to now, and I'm so excited to grow these. Michael, I'm really looking forward to seeing how these seedlings do. I'm so sorry about the Fragmapedium, but I'm going to do my best with them. But everything else is doing really well. I think everything's adapted nicely in my conditions. And yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on how these seedlings are doing 1 year later. Check out the description for the original videos. And if you like this video, don't forget to leave a comment down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye, everyone.